This week was the Labour Party conference, so FE News headed over to Brighton to find out more about the Lifelong Learning Commission and to speak to some of the people involved.
Hey, I'm Zamzam Ibrahim, President of the National Union of Students.
Hi, thanks for talking to me. Why do we need a Lifelong Learning Commission?
We often hear the stats are that 85% of jobs that we're going to be doing don't exist yet. And so actually the importance of a lifelong education system where you have the ability to relearn and re-educate yourself and reskill yourself is incredibly important.
What do you think is the most important next step in transforming our adult education system?
I think the biggest issue for a long time has been not recognising that the education system needs to be completely transformed and doesn't need to be. We need to move away from the idea of like tinkering with the edges to make it to make it work. And so the only way we can have a fully accessible national education service is to be able to relook at what the purpose of education and the way in which we learn, and to be able to understand that education needs to be flexible. People need to be able to retrain, and education should always be accessible to everybody, and fully funded. Therefore, the barriers that exist when you get into university in terms of accommodation, when we talk about issues that exist in terms of like services provided by the institution that are not fully funded, and so there is a holistic conversation that needs to happen around education being lifelong, being accessible at the point of contact.
And then one last question: what is education for?
That's an interesting question. I mean, that's important, and I think the funny thing is that we often talk so much about education being changed and education being transformed that we forget the purpose of education, right? And I think for me, the purpose of education has always been the ability to increase and gain knowledge, and regardless of what form that is, whether it's gaining a skill, whether it's gaining a skill to be able to retrain in a particular field, whether it's being able to completely reroute or change your career, or actually just develop knowledge in a particular field that you have a particular interest in. And to me, that's what education is for. Education is something that doesn't stop at a particular age. It isn't for 18-year-olds. It's something that continues on for the rest of your life and starts the day you are born. And so to me, education is lifelong as it is. And so we need, for me, the reason that this commission is so incredibly important and so transformative is that it is finally talking about what we need to be talking about. Education has always been lifelong. And US Group heartily welcomes the Labour's direction on its work towards a lifelong learning, fully funded education system. That is something we've been campaigning for years. We agree 100% at NUS. We're developing some ambitious plans this year around what a transformative education system looks like, and really looking at what an education system fit for the 21st century looks like. And I genuinely believe that is a national education service, that is an education system that is fully accessible, that is fully funded, that is lifelong. And that is, and that's the work that we've started at the National Union of Students. And some of the discussions that we've been having is around, I guess, defining the problem that exists. Right, you can't essentially tackle an issue without defining the problem. And for far too long, there's been a broken market in the education system. It's something we can't ignore. We've seen students and academics be pitted against each other, often the system letting down the students as well as the academics. And some sobering stats for you. There are only 25% of students in England receive free school meals or enter higher education by the age of 19. 6% of care leavers enter higher education. That's 6% of the entire population of care leavers enter higher education. 61% of A-level students from private schools and colleges went to the top one-third higher education institutions, compared to only 22% from state-funded schools and colleges. There's a 26 black attainment gap. The standalone FE funding gap remains between 5,000 per pupil for HE and FE. And I guess you don't need to look any further
Here, when you can highlight the struggles of staff pensions dispute, in which staff are losing their deferred pay. And so actually, the issues and the crux of the broken system of our education system has existed, and we've highlighted it, and we know what the problems are. And there's this, I guess, this belief that employability is at an all-time high. But I can tell you that graduates don't feel that in their pocket. The work poverty is at 4 million people across the UK. There's this concept that Britain is open for business, yet us young people are facing a no-deal Brexit that we didn't vote for. And Scotland and Wales, who have intentionally tried to break away from the market of broken politics, seems to bring them back in. And so there's been a lot, I guess, in terms of like the issues that exist within our education system. There's been many successive economic decisions made for young people, from the housing bubble to the financial crash, mistakes that I guess young people didn't make, but we will essentially be paid for. And indeed, I guess it's that time to put power into young people's hands, and that's essentially why we're putting this campaign together. And I think this commission gives, I guess, power and opportunity back to young people to be able to retrain, to be able to build a future for their kids. I often hear from students who go to university and leave with a ridiculous amount of debt, 16-year-old students who can't get the bus to college, and essentially disenfranchised young people who face systematic discrimination in our institutions day in, day out. And so education is, I guess, the key to a better future for our students and our society and every single person who gets who's in it. And so the conversation from education being a burden on the taxpayer needs to be completely removed. Education is a public and social good for everybody, and there are no buts or ifs on that. But the reality is there's been review after review, and another sobering stat for you. We've had 12 government reviews, 14 acts of parliament in higher education since 1960, and all of those reviews, there hasn't been a single coherent vision, a strategy, a definition of what the hell education is for. But essentially, we apparently need another review. And so, like that, we've highlighted the issues, and I think the one of the most incredible things that we've seen discussed this week is that the realization that needs to end and there needs to be action. There needs to be, because the reality is these cycles in the room lead to very much the same thing, right? It leads to less spending on education, less spending on transport, scrapping on maintenance grants and bursaries, further education never reaching the top of the agenda. It leads to these like NSS and TEF and these yo-yo league tables that seem to be coming up every other week. It leads to more debt. It leads to mental health crises. It leads to this the system becoming more and more marketized until we essentially lose what the hell education is for. And so that's why I guess what we're saying is the education system is beyond reform. It is beyond repair. It can't essentially tinker around the edges and try to fix it. The entire system needs to be scrapped. The education system needs to be truly transformative and radical at its very core. And that's what we think the National Education Service will offer, a lifelong, fully funded and accessible education system for everybody. And I'm very excited that the lifelong learning is getting back on the agenda. And yes, passionately agrees that the lifelong learning is a social justice issue, increasing opportunities to learning across our lifetimes as a social and public good can be shared by all members of our society. And I agree with the Commission that our vision of lifelong learning must go beyond enabling just to gain qualifications and include a broad spectrum of learning of a variety of different purposes. See, the world is changing around us, and the world that we live in today won't essentially look the same. There's a stat that I always use because it blew me away when I first heard it. That 85% of the jobs that we will do haven't been invented yet. And that's almost impossible for many people to re-access education. Can you imagine that there are roles that don't exist that we'll be working in, but essentially it's impossible for people to go back to retrain and to reskill themselves. So we're going to need a flexible qualification system which can be studied over time, the ability to retrain later in life. We need local and digital education that fits around people's everyday working lives. And we also need to change the rhetoric on widening participation. Success on social mobility in the public eye must move away from looking at a few working class kids going into Oxbridge, and rather at those who don't traditionally access education able to access it and stay in and succeed at all stages. We need universities which, as the Civic Commission puts it, understands the local people and what they want. We need independent advice and guidance for learners to think about the skills and courses they want to undertake from an independent source, not just institutions increasingly centred on profit. We need to I guess, taken from today's brilliant speech from John McDonald, we need an education system that allows people to have more control over their spare time, and they can learn to have the joy and the purpose that they care about in their lives. So I guess with the day spare under a future Labour government, our civic responsibilities change. With 8 more hours a week, let's open community education to people where cost of childcare are reduced, where the scourge of gendered work is rebalanced, where we can learn from each other on how to build a society we want to see. We've had lots of conversation about learners in the story and the importance of our education from cradle to grave. And we must also recognise that the new education services must also be transformative for its workers. A lifelong learning system must provide a lifelong support and security to its staff. One that ensures support for its staff and one that stops them from having to keep their eye on students on the security lens or through the prevent duty. One that ensures that they have barefoot workloads and mental health provisions, and indeed one that protects their ability to organise. Which is why one of the most crucial things a Labour government must do when it comes into power is repeal the anti-union laws. Labour has begun to outline the problems. Now it's up to us to come up with a solution. And that's the journey I look forward to taking together. And thank you for inviting me on this panel.